Lying in my bed in the dead of night, I heard the rustles of bamboo leaves outside and feel it is the wails of hungry people. For petty county officials like me, every concern of the people weighs heavily on the heart. This is a poem by Zheng Banqiao, a poet in the Qing dynasty. The sound of the wind in bamboo leaves one night brought to his mind the hard lives of ordinary people. He then wrote this poem to express his concerns. "
歇小五曹州县吏，一枝一叶总关情啊，千古流传。"你说这样的一种心境，他跟老百姓贴得多紧呢？睡卧不安呢，总是想到，老百姓现在过得怎么样？
People's livelihood is no small matter. For the people-centered Communist Party of China, improving people's quality of life is a long-term task because the people's well-being is above everything else. In the early 21st century, China entered a critical stage of economic and social development. More than 2 decades of reform and opening up, and the establishment of the socialist market economy, while greatly boosting China's economic development, had also revealed and amplified a series of problems, especially those closely related to the life of the people. These problems put the CPC's ability to govern to the test. At the first session of the 10th National People's Congress, the then newly appointed President Hu Jintao made a strong commitment.
坚持国家和人民的利益高于一切，做到权为民所用，情为民所系，利为民所谋，始终做人民的公仆。
The people are the participants of reform and the beneficiaries of development. While maintaining the continuous and steady development of the economy, CPC and Chinese government began to resolve the problems of most pressing, direct and practical concern to the people. A healthcare system is an integral part of any modern developed country. For China, a developing and populous country, how to set up and maintain a good healthcare system was a challenging question. After the founding of the PRC, the CPC Central Committee attached great importance to the development of healthcare in rural China. The late chairman Mao Zedong ordered a focus on developing medical and health services in the countryside. Medical teams were organized and training programs offered. Large batches of barefoot doctors, so called because of their rudimentary training, were sent to provide a basic service in impoverished rural areas. The millions of doctors practicing medicine in China's countryside today are the heirs to this tradition. Braving danger in his work, Deng Qiandui, who is known as the Cableway Doctor, routinely crosses a raging torrent to bring care to those in need. Jumatai Aubakirule, who is called Dr. Dad by local children, has been working in the mountains for 20 years as a guardian angel of herdsmen. Li Chunyan, a doctor in Guizhou province sold 2 cattle and her dowry to open a clinic in a poor village for the care of locals. With improvements in living standards, providing people with easier access to healthcare and more affordable and efficient treatment became the principal task of China's healthcare system reform. In October 2002, the CPC Central Committee and the State Council's decision on further enhancing health services in rural areas stated it was necessary to gradually establish a new rural cooperative medical care scheme. The new scheme, which now covers critical illness insurance as well as minor illness insurance, is for farmers to participate in on a voluntary basis. It is funded mainly by state and local governments, with smaller contributions from individuals. Piloted in some Western regions in 2003, the scheme was warmly welcomed by the people. Following successful trials, in 2006, the scheme was officially launched nationwide. By the end of 2008, it was covering 31 provinces, autonomous regions and municipalities across the country, with 814 million participants. Liu Chunhua is a villager from Hubei. Her husband was seriously injured in a construction accident. Unable to afford long-term treatment, he died months later. To support her family, Liu Chunhua also got a job at a construction site. Unfortunately, she was then injured too, suffering multiple fractures in an accident. Lacking effective treatment, she stayed at home for 2 years. Disabled, tormented with pain, she lost all hope.
一共花了5、6万块钱，一次就花那么多钱，我就害怕，想着再又从哪一家去借呢？借给别人钱都没还。
The new medical care scheme gave her new hope. Thanks to the effective treatments offered by her local health center, she gradually recovered.
国家的政策好，有病你就看病，出院的时候国家给你报销，就一次就交个几百块钱呢。合作医疗给我们带手看病的人多少好处，我们农村感谢他们。
Subsequently, in 2007, China launched the pilot scheme Urban Residents Basic Medical Insurance, covering uninsured elderly people and children. With its promotion alongside the rollout of the new Rural Cooperative Medical Care Scheme, China has institutionally provided medical insurance cover for both its urban and rural residents.
中共中央国务院关于深化医药卫生体制改革的意见6号正式发布。意见提出了切实缓解看病难、看病贵的近期目标和建立健全覆盖城乡居民的基本医疗卫生制度的长远目标。
On April 6, 2009, the long-awaited policy document Opinions of the CPC Central Committee and the State Council on Deepening Reform of the Medical and Healthcare System was publicly released. It was a written record of the supreme importance China is attaching to its healthcare system as a national cause. With the reforms it has now implemented, China has taken solid steps forward in improving national health. Social Security guarantees minimum income, regulates social distribution, and promotes social equality. Establishing and gradually improving China's urban and rural subsistence security system has been an important part of the government's work since 1978. In 2007, the 17th CPC National Congress proposed to accelerate the improvement of social security based on social insurance, social assistance, and social welfare, and focusing on a basic pension, basic medical care, and a minimum living security system, supplemented by charity and commercial insurance.
党和政府啊，我们总惦记着我们这些困难家庭的这些群众。国家该提供低保的要给你提供低保，保障你的基本生活。医疗上有困难，我们有医疗救助。
真的对我全家的帮助永生。
In 2009, a new rural social endowment insurance scheme took effect. Since then, rural Chinese residents over 60 have been entitled to a state pension. Then, in March 2011, the 12th five-year outline, adopted at the 4th session of the 11th National People's Congress, put forward a higher standard for social security for urban and rural residents.
以前都是国家报的，现在是台湾更想授予。保障上我是干得非常满意的，生还为不要为这个病发愁。
我名字叫曲丹白，我现在快到70岁了，养老金是一老百姓我拿着呗。感谢政府和党的政策，感谢。
This is footage of farmers paying agricultural taxes in the 1970s and 1980s. Agriculture used to be the central pillar of China's economy, with agricultural tax making up most of the government's revenue. Farmers were the mainstay of the CPC and the central force behind the founding of the People's Republic of China in 1949. During the 3 decades that followed, through the state's monopoly of purchasing and marketing, agriculture contributed about 450 billion yuan to China's industrialization. After China's reform and opening up, industry and commerce developed rapidly, and agricultural tax declined to a small proportion of government revenue. In October 2005, the 5th plenary session of the 16th CPC Central Committee formally proposed the major historical task of building a new socialist countryside. In December the same year, the regulations of the People's Republic of China on agricultural tax was rescinded. For the first time in 2,600 years, Chinese farmers no longer had to pay agricultural tax. Wang Sunni, a villager from Hebei, has around a hectare of land. He used to pay an agricultural tax each year by handing over 300 to 400 kilograms of wheat, or about 500 yuan. Since the abolition of agricultural tax, he has not only been allowed to keep everything he produces, he can also claim subsidies from the government.
实实在在的担负政府给农民用恩，我想把它记录下来，让我们子孙后代永远记住这个事儿。
With bronze craftsmanship running in his family, Wang Sunni raised funds and recorded the historical event by casting and engraving a ding. The inscription on the ding reads, "I am the son of a peasant, and my ancestors had farmed, weaved and paid taxes for generations. Having bid farewell to the land tax, I cast this ding with engraving as a record for my descendants." Photographer Chun Xunying has documented the benefits brought to farmers by the central government's policy. He once worked in the revenue department of a township government in Hunan. At the end of each year, its main task was to collect agricultural tax due by going door to door. In 2006, China officially exempted peasants from the agricultural tax and provided subsidies for rural residents. Accordingly, Chun Chung-ying's job changed from collecting to handing out funds, and more than 30 subsidies were distributed by him every year. Farmers today use a single card to receive their subsidies, making for a system that is both convenient and transparent.
经过10多年的发展并进，党的一些政策也越来越好，惠农惠民的项目也越来越多。你看，现在他们都是一些3、4层楼的小洋房了，生活条件改善相对于过去还是非常大。我作为一个党员，把党的好政策落到实处，我的内心还是感到非常自豪，感到非常骄傲。这边看过来，预备，开始。
Solving issues related to agriculture, peasants and rural areas has always been the top priority for the CPC. From 2006 onwards, Hu Jintao made it his routine to spend every spring festival with peasants representing the CPC Central Committee to check on the implementation of related policies.
党中央提出来要建设社会主义新农村，对，目的呢，就是要让我们的这个广大农民啊，更快的富裕起来，日子越过越好。谢谢。我们在听你们的意见，你们说好，我们就继续办；你们说还不行，我们就改。
In October 2008, the third plenary session of the 17th CPC Central Committee deliberated and adopted the decision on several big issues on promoting reform and development of rural areas. This document took the form of an integrated structure for economic and social development of urban and rural areas as a fundamental requirement, sticking to the guideline that industrial development shall support agricultural development and urban development shall benefit rural development, as well as the principle of give more, take less and loosen control. These policies have brought substantial benefits to the countryside. While agriculture is the foundation of a nation, employment is the foundation of people's livelihood, both of which the party and the central government are always deeply concerned about. The 16th CPC National Congress stressed the need to create more jobs and improve people's lives. 5 years later, the 17th CPC National Congress urged the continuation of a proactive employment policy, strengthening of government guidance, and an improved market-oriented employment mechanism. It also resolved to encourage and support entrepreneurship to create more job opportunities. While pushing forward the transformation of its mode of economic development and the upgrading of its industrial structure, China felt increased pressure on employment. In 2009 alone, 20 million migrant workers needed to find new jobs. At the same time, 6.1 million college graduates were seeking employment. The number of people looking for work reached a record high. For a time, employment became the top priority for all levels of government. Guided by the central government's policy, Shanghai started skill training for jobless groups and provided free training opportunities for those in need. In 2009, Shanghai launched a 3-year action plan for boosting employment through encouraging creating new businesses to foster young entrepreneurs. By 2011, the plan had helped 39,000 people successfully start their own businesses. It had also created 317,000 jobs, educated and trained 65,000 people, and set up 152 startup business parks and incubation bases. Xu Sicheng is an employment assistance worker in Kangjian Street, Shuhui District, Shanghai, as well as a party member. Although he has passed retirement age, he keeps himself busy every day serving the unemployed in the community, learning about their needs and helping them look for work. When somebody needs a job, they will seek out Xu. Over the years, he and his team have helped more than 3,000 people from about 600 families get employed. In 2012, Xu was named an outstanding individual in employment and entrepreneurship and was recognized as a grassroots practitioner of the central government's employment policy. As well as introducing measures to promote employment, the CPC and the state have also been providing legal guarantees of employment equality. China's employment promotion law, labor contract law, and labor dispute mediation and arbitration law were promulgated and implemented successively, providing a solid legal base for resolving employment disputes. Most jobs require skill, so education is the key to achieving full employment. Ensuring everyone has the opportunity to receive a good education and promoting equality in education are important aspects of a moderately prosperous society that the CPC has been working for. They are also essential for a competitive, practical, and satisfying education system.
祝你们不屈不挠，马到成功。
After the 16th CPC National Congress, China substantially increased government spending on education and established a new safeguard mechanism for compulsory education in rural areas. In 2005, the State Council issued a notice that from the spring semester of 2006, the state would implement reform to safeguard the spending on compulsory education in rural areas by year and by region. Primary and secondary school students in West China's rural areas were first exempted from tuition and incidental fees. In 2005, the central and local governments began to exempt charges for books and miscellaneous expenses for poor students in key poverty-stricken counties and provide a subsidy for boarding students' living expenses. The policy benefited more than 17 million impoverished students in central and West China and enabled 350,000 former students who had dropped out because of poverty to return to school. At noon, Changmo Primary School in Baise, Guangxi serves tasty meals. The set meal of meat, vegetables and soup provides necessary nutrition for students. Since the implementation of the 2 exemptions and 1 subsidy policy, poor rural students have not only been provided with free textbooks and living expenses, but also with a free lunch. Teacher Wang Wenmei came from a poor local family. With the financial support of the state, she finished college. Now she wants to help more children like her change their lives.
我们学校成了村里最好的建筑，对贫困学生2免1补，读小学和初中已经不用再交学杂费和生活费了，住校生还有生活补助，孩子们真是越来越幸福了。同学们，今天王老师要带你们来唱一首歌，这首歌也是王老师小学的时候唱过的。好，我们一起来看。
In 2008, free compulsory education in China was expanded to cover all urban and rural areas, a milestone in China's education history. It benefited 160 million students and ensured that all school-aged children could receive an education at no cost. the Communist Party of China strives for the well-being of the Chinese people. Adhering to its fundamental purpose of wholeheartedly serving the people, the CPC continuously pushes forward scientific development, promotes social harmony, implements effective policies that benefit the people, and pushes forward the formation of a service-oriented government and a public service system that are fair, just, moderate, sustainable, and beneficial to all. It strives to ensure that development is for the people, by the people, and with the people sharing in its fruits.
从长夜到日出，走过千山万水的路，每一步都是信仰足迹，烙印下新中国版图，从贫弱到富强，走出复兴，为业征途，每一天都有奋斗牺牲，只为人民拥抱幸福，凭着心中坚定信念，敢叫日月换新天，循环满道，风雨无阻，会举起中华儿女同向前。从贫弱到富强，走出复兴，为业征途。